Well, we got buckets of rain, and they helped me find one of my bucket listers. Well, welcome to Finding America. It is really great to see you here. We finally got some rain, and it came down in buckets last week. I was so excited to finally get the chance to go out there and dig in some soft, damp soil. That is, until it dries up again because of the heat that is still sticking around here. Now, the very first place that I wanted to go back to was the empty field across from the old cemetery. And now that the ground was soft and damp, I knew there were a lot more things there for me to find. Well, this is the second hole I've dug. First one had a big piece of iron, and this one was a 19. I'll tell you what, I've got a old penny in the ground, and I'm not sure just yet, but oh, it's green. I'll tell you what, it might be an Indian. It is an Indian. Holy cow! Second hole. I'll tell you what, we had that tropical storm Fred come through a few days ago, dumped 5 inches of rain on us, and then this morning it rained all morning. I couldn't get out till noon, and it is like digging in butter now. And there's another thing too, if you're just starting out and you have a good spot and it rains and you get a nice rain, get out there, because you will find targets that you couldn't pick up before, because wet ground is more conductive and a lot easier to get the deep signals. Oh, I'll get this cleaned up now that I've rambled on for a little while, and we'll see what year it is, but how about that? Second Indian from this spot, and the second hole of this hunt. Awesome. Well, there she is, and this one's going to be 1901. That's going to be the oldest coin from this spot so far. I think my last inning was 1902, so I beat that by a year. That's not in too bad a shape. I'll get it cleaned up a little bit more when I get home, but that's a great way to start off. Boy, am I enjoying this soft ground. I was having to chip away at it. It took me 20 minutes to get a target out. Now it takes me about a minute. But this one was giving me a 2021. It was in the plug. And if you've been watching these latest videos, you know what this is. This is a Model T valve stem retaining nut. So, I don't know how many I've gotten now. 8. It's amazing. And today I'm using part 2. I've got the sensitivity 23, running the 11-inch coil, and I've got response time at about 3. I'm going for depth, so that's why I put the 11-inch on. I'm swinging really slow, and it's paying off pretty well. I've got some things that just weren't there last time because the ground was so dry. But this is giving me a 13-14, about 7 inches down, and I got an old bullet. And it's not a Civil War bullet, but it's not a new one either. This is going to be late 1800s, oops, early 1900s. So, just kind of a cool find, and it's an old find. So, just thought I'd share that one with you. Well, I have to say, I'm really kind of getting a picture of this spot by what I've been finding the last few times. Lots of utensils. Lots of shotgun shells, lots of Indian head pennies and early Wheaties, and lots of Model T valve stems. So I'm thinking not only might this have been a parking lot, but I think they did have picnics out here. I'm finding so many early iron utensils. And there's a handle of a fork or a spoon. So pretty cool. And it's always neat the ideas you can form in your mind while you're out here detecting and interpreting what you're digging out of the ground. So pretty neat. Well, this thing was all over the place, 18 and 15. Couldn't tell what it was, just decided to go for it, and pulled out 2 big nails, and then I pulled this out. And it appears to be the body of a bird. You can see the wings and feathers. That's pretty cool. Just thought I'd share that one with you. Well, this one's kind of cool. It's giving me a 9 to an 11, but it was kind of a big, soft target. And it was a nail first that I got, about 3 inches down, then about 6 inches down. I saw the edge of this, and yeah, I've got a noisy car going by, but that's going to be a piece of horse tack, big iron ring right there. Pretty cool, very substantial weight too. So neat little find from the horse and buggy days at this spot. Well, this one was giving me a nice solid 12, really deep, about 8 inches. I was hoping for a nickel, but turned out to be another head stamp for a shotgun shell. And this is a lot like the one that I got last week, the Peters Target. This time I have a Peters Victor. So going to be the same time frame, about 1911 to 1926, somewhere in there. So pretty cool one. Well, this is really impressive because of the depth. I was getting a 15, thought it was going to be a shotgun shell, but it was way down there. Let's see, 8 inches, good 8 inches. And I thought it was going to be a shotgun shell, but it turned out to be something a little different this time. It's going to be a newspaper printing plate fragment. Not going to be able to make out much on of it. It's not very big, but very cool piece. I love digging printing plates. Well, I like digging these, and I was getting a 13. It was deep, about 8 inches, and pulled it out. Thought I had a chisel, but nope, this is a railroad spike. You can see where the head broke off. And as a lot of you know, I like digging these because I like old trains, and it gives me a great excuse to put an old train picture in the video. Well, here's a couple more things that potentially could have been used at a picnic. Hang on just a second, we got a truck going by. I was getting a 12-13 and I got this old fastener. And I thought, well, that could have been on an old picnic basket or who knows. But I've dug lots of these over the years, but it says lift the dot. But here's another thing. A very cool piece of chinaware there. Old plate. That is really cool looking. Very old too. So as you can tell, I'm really close to the street, but there's a bunch of old things right up here, so I'm hitting it. Well, this was giving me a nice 22, 23 high tone, and when I popped the plug, I could see the imprint. Penny was down at the bottom of the hole, but I got a nice early weedy. This is going to be a 1934. Really nice condition too. So happy to have that. Well, yet another mystery solved this week, thanks to all of you watching last week. You may recall in the previous video called Makes Us Happy, I showed a really strange piece of lead. Well, once again, thanks go out to Max, who was watching and was the very first one to let me know that this little piece of lead was actually used in draperies during the Victorian times to keep them hanging straight. Now, we actually had 2 mystery items last week, and the second mystery item was a very puzzling piece of sterling silver. Well, this time, Garrett Christian was watching the video and was the very first to let me know that that was part of a very old sterling hat pin. And as it turned out, it dated all the way back to the Edwardian times. Now, there's some very interesting history about hat pins that you might not know. These hat pins were sometimes used as a means of self-defense by the women who wore them. Well, many ill-intentioned men were thwarted by these 12-inch long hairpins. And these fashion accessories actually became quite feared by some men of the era, so much so that they passed a law limiting the size of the hairpins to a length of just 9 inches. somehow I really don't think that made a whole lot of difference back then. Now here's a little tip, and it may sound kind of silly, but if you're going to take your headphones off while you're digging your hole, hang them up here off the ground, because I made that mistake a long time ago, and I had a couple ants that crawled into my headphones and then were dancing around in my ear, and it wasn't too much fun. So just a little tip, I like hanging them there. Now this one was giving me a 9, but it was bouncing up as I came down on it to about a 10, 11, so I dug it, finally got it out in my drop cloth here, and it's an old spoon bowl, and it's really old. Look at that green patina on it. Well, I know I did it again. I was getting a 19, it was 6 inches. I saw this halo effect here, a little darker dirt, and I knew I had something with a good base metal, usually a coin, and saw this pinning, and look, check it out. I can see the edge of the headdress, another Indian head. I'm telling you, when the ground gets nice and wet, all kinds of things pop out of the ground that you couldn't hear before. And that is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and toothpick it, and we'll see if we can get a date on it. But that's 2 of them. That's the 3rd one from this spot. Well, check this one out. It's another 1902. So that makes the second 1902 that I've gotten, and the 1901 I got just a little while ago. But really nice condition. So happy to have that one. That's so awesome. Well, I lasted about 2.5 hours before the heat drove me back home. And I have to say, it was so hard to stop digging. But one thing I've learned is the heat is not something you want to mess with. Besides, I was going to be going out the next morning to the 1800s house permission in hopes that the ground was going to be just as soft there as it was at this place. Well, I'm out here at the 1800s house, and I was really hoping that the ground would be as soft as it was at the cemetery site, and it is nice and soft. First time I've ever been able to hunt this place with damp, soft ground. So, got a signal right away, 15. It was actually in the plug, and it's some sort of lead bale seal, perfectly round. I'll get it cleaned up a little later when I get home and see if there's anything on it, but hey, I'm just so happy I can dig in this ground so easily now. Well, it's a pretty cool find right here. It's giving me I think it was around a 12, but it was deep, 8 inches deep. Finally got it out, and check it out. It's a head stamp, one that I haven't found, and it's a Winchester repeater, 20 gauge. It's pretty darn cool. It's going to be another early one, and I'll look it up when I get home. But glad to have this one. Well, this one was giving me a really solid 17, and I might have something pretty interesting. Check this out. Some kind of a cover, locket cover maybe, but I think it might have a design on it. So I'm going to get it cleaned up, but I wanted you to see how it came out of the ground, and I'll be right back after I get it cleaned up a little bit. We'll see what it looks like. Well, that is pretty cool. Some sort of, kind of like a honeycomb design or hammer tone. And I'm thinking it might have been a cover for a small watch that would have hung around a lady's neck. Or it could just be a locket cover, but that is really cool. Very happy to have found that. Well, this one was giving me a huge 18 signal. And check out what I got. Pretty cool. I never found one like this. It's like a toy tractor, or I don't know. Pretty neat though. That's a pretty cool little find though. Well, I was ecstatic when I found that little toy tractor. And you might be asking yourself why. Well, the reason being is that he had told me earlier that this spot where I'd found this one was where his grandson used to play with his toy cars. Let me tell you, he was tickled pink when I gave him this one back. Well, this one was giving me a 16, only about 5 inches down. But yeah, so I thought it was another inside frame to a pocket watch. That's a pretty cool looking one. I haven't found one like that before. Well, still hunting around here and got a 12. Finally got it out. That's a nice half a horseshoe. That's the second one out here, so pretty cool. Well, this one was giving me a nice high tone, 2122, dug down. Looks like I got another ornamental metal piece here, decorative piece. Pretty darn cool looking. I'm hoping I'll be able to straighten it out without breaking it, but I'll save that for when I get home. But a really cool looking piece. Be interesting to see what it looks like. Well, it was crazy hot that day, and I only lasted 3 hours. And I knew that that soft ground wasn't going to remain soft for very long. It was going to dry up pretty quick. So I decided I would make plans for Monday, and I was going to go to that church permission that I have. Now, I only had about an hour to hunt, and I was a little worried, what am I going to be able to find in an hour? Well, as it turned out, that was all the time that I needed. Well, this one was giving me a nice 22. It's actually high toning up to 28, about 7 inches down. I finally got it out. It's an early weedy, not in the best of shape, but I can see the date pretty clearly. It's going to be a 1920 Philadelphia Met mark. I'm going to check the hole, make sure nothing else was making it ring up higher than that, but I will definitely take this one. Well, just swinging under this holly tree, just doing row by row in this front yard, and I got my second weedy, and 8 inches down, pretty deep, and I looked at this one already, and it's going to be a 1942 Philadelphia, so I will definitely take that. Well, unfortunately, I was running out of time, and it was getting really hot, and that's when I got a signal that I was pretty sure was just going to be another piece of garbage. Well, not this time. Oh man, I'll tell you what, I am so happy. I scratched one off my bucket list, and it's one of those things, a lot of people found them, I just hadn't gotten one yet. And oh, I jumped like it was a silver $half when I saw it. This was giving me a 16-17, and it was a long target, and I was like, oh boy, let me dig this junk out. I'll tell you, this is why you dig it all. I'm so thrilled. Check out what's in the hole. You probably won't be able to tell what it is yet. And I wasn't even sure until I pulled it out, and then I just stuck it right back in the hole. Look at this. It's a complete 30s toy car. I have been trying to find an old toy car that dates 40s and older for years, and I finally got it. Oh, that's just nuts. You know what's funny? My neighbor was coming down below my mountain, and we're both into cars, and he was driving his 30 street rod the other day, and I was talking about how I love the cars with the pod headlights, and check this out, it's got one. Oh man. So I'll get this cleaned up. I am not going to touch it right now, but it's a beauty, and I am so happy. It has been a long time looking for one of these. Whew, another one off the bucket list. Well, I am still so excited about finding that old toy car, especially after searching for one for so long. And I really hope you enjoyed watching this episode. Now, one thing Americans have always been good at is enjoying life. And coming up right now are some of my favorite pictures of Americans in the past doing just that. And remember, it's history that makes a find a treasure. And I cannot wait to see you back here next week on Finding America.